All right, number 10 says, what segment is congruent to BC? Remember that congruent, this word here, it means that they're the same size. So we're looking for two things that are the same size. So the first thing I have to figure out is how long is BC. So we're looking at BC. We're going to say that equals BC, should be pretty easy to see, is 1, 2 in length. We want to figure out which segment is also 2 in length. So we have BC here. This is pretty easy. If I look at the one next to it, CD, that one's the same size. So I know that BC is going to be congruent to CD. Remember, this is your little symbol for congruent. This guy here. All right, for number 11, we're finding the midpoint of PQ. Remember our midpoint formula, we're trying to find the point that's in the middle, is x1 plus x2 divided by 2. So add your x's, divide by 2. Y1 plus y2 divided by 2. My point P is right here. Its coordinates are, we go over -4, down -6. Q, you go over 5, 6, 7, 8, and up 2. I'm going to start out by labeling my points. Let's call this point 1. So this is x1, y1. This is going to be point 2, so we'll have x2, y2. And then we're going to plug it all into this formula up top. So we should have two coordinates when we're done. The first one, we're going to add our x's, so do -4 plus 8 divided by 2. For the second one, add our y's, -6 plus 2 divided by 2, and we're going to solve. When I do -4 plus 8, we get 4 divided by 2. The second one gives me -6 plus 2, which would give me a -4 divided by 2. And if we simplify, we're going to get 2, -2. Now, you should make sure that your point falls on your line. If my point doesn't fall on my line, it's something wrong. So if I go over 2, doop, and I go down 2, bam, my point is right in the middle of my line. That is your midpoint. Number 12 says find the distance between P, which is 9, 8, and Q, which is 6, 3 to the nearest 10th. My formula for distance, D, equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Just like we did with midpoint, I'm going to label my points. So let's call P point 1. So we'd have x1, y1. Q is going to be point 2. So we have x2, or excuse me, yeah, x2, y2. And then we're going to plug it in. So x2, it's that q of x, so it's going to be 6 minus x1, which is 9 squared, plus y2 is 3 minus 8, which is y1 squared. I'm going to simplify. When I do 6 minus 9, I get 6 minus 9. We get -3, and we're going to square that. Plus, if I do 3 minus 8, I get -5, and we're going to square that. Make sure you square first. If I do -3 squared, I get 9, plus 5 squared, -5 squared gives me 25. Remember, your negatives go away, so they should both be positive. And if I do 9 plus 25, I get the square root of 34. I'm going to type that into a calculator quick and tell you what your final answer should be. All right, you would get 5.83. We want to round to the nearest 10th, so we want one number here. Since there's a 3 here, we're going to round down. If it was 5, you would round up. So my answer is going to be 5.8 is the distance of my line.